Ethan had been working at the Golden Spoon for nearly 3 years. He loved serving people, listening to their stories, and offering small comforts in the form of warm meals and friendly conversation. But despite his dedication, life had been harsh. His apartment rent had doubled, his mother was sick back in Michigan, and student loans loomed over him like a shadow he couldn't escape. Many nights he went home exhausted, staring at an empty fridge and wondering how he would make it through the next week. That evening, Ethan was balancing a tray filled with steaming plates of food when a family walked in. The father, a tall man in his late 40s, looked stern at first, but his eyes softened as he noticed Ethan struggling to manage the busy diner. The family was cheerful, kids laughing and pointing at the desserts. They sat near the window, watching the rain fall, and Ethan rushed to take their order. For the next hour, he poured his heart into serving them. He remembered every preference, every smile, and even added little touches, folding the napkins into a simple heart for the youngest daughter and recommending a slice of cherry pie, which she devoured happily. The father noticed. When the bill came, Ethan assumed it would be a normal transaction. But as the family stood to leave, the father handed Ethan an envelope. "You deserve this more than anyone tonight," he said with a warm smile. Ethan hesitated, confused and embarrassed, but inside the envelope were hundreds of dollars, enough to cover his rent and bills for the month. Ethan froze. He had never experienced such kindness. Tears blurred his vision as he thanked them repeatedly, his voice trembling. He thought of his mother, of the long nights worrying about making ends meet, and now, for the first time in months, he felt a spark of hope. That act of generosity didn't just help him financially. It inspired him to believe in himself again. He returned to work the next day with renewed energy, greeting every customer with even more warmth. But fate had more in store. Months later, the same family returned to the diner, and this time, the father recognized Ethan immediately. They struck up a conversation and Ethan shared his dreams of opening a small cafe of his own, somewhere people could feel safe, cared for, and welcome, just like he tried to make the Golden Spoon. The father listened intently and offered to introduce Ethan to an old friend who was an investor. Within a year, Ethan had a small cozy cafe in a neighborhood that desperately needed it. The walls were painted in warm colors, and the air smelled of fresh coffee and pastries. The same values he carried as a struggling waiter, kindness, patience, attention to detail, became the foundation of his business. He even hired other struggling waiters and baristas, giving them the chance to rebuild their lives, just as someone had done for him. Ethan never forgot the family's kindness. He realized that sometimes, small acts of generosity ripple far beyond the moment. One small envelope, one smile, one gesture of belief in another human being. It can change the course of a life. Years later, Ethan stood behind his cafe counter, watching children laugh as they sipped cocoa, couples chatting over breakfast, and strangers helping strangers. And he knew in his heart that the world could be brighter, warmer, and more hopeful, one act of kindness at a time.